No, so it was January. I met Hefty, who's sitting back here somewhere.
Right there.
And I just happened to stumble upon drone racing. I was flying a Phantom filming drifting. I'm riding in the passenger seat shooting a video, and that led me to a video of drone racing, which I thought was really awesome. I'm sure the AMA guys love to hear that I'm flying a Phantom from a... So anyways, it linked me to a video of people doing drone racing, and the most amazing part is it was the same city that I lived in. So immediately I met these guys, I went out to the field, and I saw it firsthand. I saw first-person view. I had seen hints about it, because I look at RC stuff occasionally, but I'd never experienced it. And for me, it didn't start with the intention of creating multi-GP. I just was fascinated with the idea of racing first-person view. I would spend my weekends typically either flying airplanes, like I fly a parachute with an engine, which is fun, and it makes you, it's a risk. I like to do things that are risky, or trying to race go-karts. Those are the things that I love to do. So it was another way to get that same adrenaline fix for less money and less risk. I never knew it was going to form this massive chapter network. It just started with a desire to solve the problem of what happens when everybody gets together and we're going to try to race, because the frequencies were a problem. We started to develop software, which Tom, who I wish could be here, helped me with, which is what the MultiGP site is founded on, and to make my life easier when I went out on the weekend to try to host a drone race. And from there I met some of the guys like Tori and Abel from Orlando, Nelson and the team from Miami, and we started to share these tools with the other groups. As it just evolved, this is what it's become, and I'm pretty proud of what we've built so far. The idea is to build a runaway train that we can't stop even if we wanted to. We want to create enough growth and excitement in FPV racing that if tomorrow we disappeared, if MultiGP went away, FPV racing is going to continue to flourish. It's going to continue to grow. And I think we've done that. Most of the chapters that are here are constantly impressing us. So we're seeing events that we didn't even know were being planned happen. We're seeing pilots come out of nowhere and just absolutely destroy some of these tracks. And it's all starting to happen organically. The best part is, because we've grown based around the idea on participating, we've gotten to work with the AMA, which when it comes to what we're doing, there is no stronger ally for us to have in the sport that we're a part of. If you want to make sure that the government understands that what we're doing is safe, it's fun, and it's not going to be stopped, so it needs to be recognized, you couldn't ask for a better partner. So as long as we continue to develop and do what we do safely, you're going to see that we're going to have great support when it comes to being in those important conversations that create the laws that are going to regulate what it is that we do. So that's the boring stuff, right? Let's talk about what the future that we envision for FPV racing. When we began, it started with a very simple idea. The idea was to make the racing work. From there, it evolved into making the local chapter model work. And our target goal that we set was to do 200 chapters. Well, last count, I think we're at about 400 active chapters and another 300 chapters that have applied but have not been approved for whatever reason. Maybe they're pending, maybe we turned them down. Yeah, and some of the guys who've really been instrumental, Shannon, who's back here, has been a huge help. If you guys have ever spoke to Shannon, I don't know how many hours he's put into helping us onboard chapters. When I started, I was doing it at first, James was doing it, and it was all that I could do just to try to keep up with providing support. You see, we want to make sure that if someone's going to start a chapter that they have the right intentions. We have no problem with somebody wanting to set up a business where you show up to that business and you pay money to race your drone. However, that's not really what the MultiGP local chapter is about. That doesn't mean chapters don't collect dues, they can charge for events, but if you're making a concession where someone wants to come in and they give you money and then they get a fly, that's not really what being a chapter is about. It's about building that local community, because through that local community we get all the participants. From there, it was to move on to what we considered the first real series. There's been a lot of championships and series so far in FPV racing. There's been a lot of them. Some of them have been good. Some of them have been not as good. Regardless of how those turned out, what we were really targeting was to start on the most local level possible, the most granular level, and let people who've never been seen before, who don't have a huge YouTube following, to go to a track and to prove that they're a great racer. That's what we did with the regional qualifiers. And then from there, let those pilots come together in a regional final, and then now the championship, which is what we're hosting here. So this is, without a doubt, the most complex racing series that has ever been seen in FPV by a factor of at least 10. There's nothing that's happened like this. Most events have 1 or 2 feeders that go to it, or they're feeders that come from unknown sources. Every step of the way, we followed a set of rules, we followed a set of guidelines. The regional finals were all the same track. So it's a pretty impressive accomplishment, and that's because of you guys who have helped put those on. I really appreciate that. So next year we're going to do a series like this, hopefully more complex, more chapters everywhere else. And we're going to make some improvements along the way. I think we've had a lot of great wins. There's been a few things that I've seen that can be improved, so we'll work on improving that. But that's the second phase of our plan, is to accomplish this series. Assuming this weekend goes well, we've accomplished that. Until this weekend is done, we're not going to say we've accomplished it. If we have a major problem and this thing falls apart, it's going to be marked off as a failure. You're going to see me telling people, hey, we really tried hard and we failed, and here's the problems that we had. I don't think we're going to see it. But if it happens, we're going to say it happened. We're not going to turn around and go, oh, well, this was really good. Yeah, that was a little bit of a problem. No. We're going to tell you exactly how it is, good, bad, and different. And we consider it a success if the pilots who show up get to fly the amount that they're expected to fly, and that when a winner is decided, everybody had an equal shot at becoming that winner. It's not just a random who's the luckiest pilot. There's not going to be much luck involved at this series. There's enough opportunities to drop around to where when we get to the last 16, every single person should have earned that position, which is what we're excited about. So now moving on, when this is done, we move into the last stage of what I see happening with MultiGP. And that's for us to start taking what we're doing and broadcasting that to the world. Looking for contracts that take what we do and put it in stadiums, put it in really nice venues, put it on television. That's what we all want to see. Right? Now that we've created this net that allows for anybody to say, wow, that looks really cool, I want to do that. Well, you can. You go on MultiGP, you find a chapter, you talk to that chapter, you can start racing. You have the ability now to do that. You can do that safely. Since that exists, now it's time to start attracting new people to this sport. And we're going to do that by targeting these media outlets. Before, if you saw it, I like to compare drone racing to going to the circus. I don't know if anybody's ever heard me make that comparison. If you go to the circus, right, and they have a trapeze, and they have elephants, and they have clowns, it's awesome. You know, you can get the light, it spins in a circle. I don't know if anybody ever got one of those. But it's a cool experience. And then you go home, but you don't wake up the next day and go, man, I'm going to get an elephant. Maybe I could put up a trapeze in the backyard. That's going to be awesome. No, you went to the circus, you saw the circus, you did it. That's it. That's what drone racing is right now. People see it, they're like, wow, that was really cool. Let me look at 50 other cool videos. And that's it. It doesn't stick. If we can provide the easy, accessible way for people to get into drone racing, then when we put a show out there, like the DR1 or something like that, that really attracts people to the sport, now they have a way to get involved. And that's how we're going to really grow this thing. It's going to be really important, though, that you support your local chapter. And if you're in an area that doesn't have one, if you're not the person to become that leader, help us find that leader. Because the worst thing that can happen to this new developing sport is for many of the pilots to start to do it unsafe. If there's a 5-year-old playing on a playground and he gets injured by somebody flying FPV, that is going to be a huge dent in all that we have built. So the only way that we're going to do that is by finding a way to educate new pilots. So somebody buys an FPV machine, They need to find a way to be trained quickly on how to operate safely. If someone's flying in a park and they don't know any better, I think most of us have been there before, right? I mean, who here started flying without joining a chapter? Any of you not fly models before you started FPV? So did y'all just fly wherever? Probably somewhat safe, but maybe not always too safe. I'm not going to say the things that I did when I started flying. So I'm not going to say them. But, and it's happened. You look at anybody who's on this field flying whatever it is that's radio controlled, they all started somewhere. This is no different. It's just important for us to have the largest possible community outreach that we can, so when new people get started flying, we can take them and show them, hey, this is awesome, I'm glad you like it. Here are a few things that you need to make sure that you do. There's not a lot, there's a ton of places to fly. If you see trees, and there's nobody who walks in that area, you can fly right there. That's a safe place to fly. You just don't fly to park. It's very simple. Now that we're moving on to this final stage, we're hoping to see an economy begin to really develop around this sport. Everybody dreams of being able to do this full time. Well, you can. You can start a store, right? Some guys do that. They run stores. But being able to do more than just starting a store. Maybe you put on events. Maybe that's the career path you take. You find a venue, you schedule the venue, you promote the event, and people go. If there's a large enough group of pilots who want to participate in racing, you could make a career out of that. And it'd be pretty awesome. I've made a career out of racing. It doesn't pay really well, but it's really fun. I mean, I wake up every day happy to go to work because this is a cool thing to do. I mean, I spent months dreaming up the track that's out here, and that's what I did for a living. I woke up every day and did that. That was a great way to spend my life. We're hoping to see more people get the opportunity to do that. While we're here in this forum, in addition to talking about plans and things that we want to see, the idea here is to not just talk to you. You've got as much going on in your local area or where you're flying as we do. We want to know, what direction do you want to see this thing go? What kind of tools and features would you like to see us develop? What improvements do you think we can make from this series, right? What are the big things that we wanted that you'd like to see us change? A couple of things happened when we started this series, right? Greg, who's here, was really the architect. You guys know Greg. I call him the OG of drone racing. Everybody meet Greg? Did he say hi to everybody? Real bright shirt. Greg started GoDroneX. You guys familiar with GoDroneX? Probably created more content any one person has ever created around the idea of racing. And I'm really thankful that he helped us create this series. There's a 60-page document, which I can count on this hand how many times I've written a 60-page document, that he created just to provide us a solid rule set to make this series go on. He helped with the design of the regional final course, along with many of the other things that he provided. So without that knowledge, we couldn't have created this series. But now that we've created it, there's been a couple of things along the way that we ran into. For one, I think one of the biggest problems we saw this year was instead of using the cumulative time that you ran for all your laps, we did a single fastest lap time. Are you guys familiar with that? Whereas most of the RC experienced guys like Shannon and Greg said that we should have done the total time. I don't know how you guys feel about that on the way that we did the racing, or if it even matters to you. But that was one of the kind of things we want to improve. What we would like is, as this series is over and as we start decompressing before we plan the next one, if you have any feedback that you want to give to us, try to not give it to us in this massive, really gigantic email. Those are great. I appreciate you writing those. Sometimes we're busy. And I mean, unless you're a really great writer, if you can write a very compelling, story that takes you through a lot of emotions, that's good. But if it's kind of bland, I don't have a very good attention span. I mean, this is a big challenge just for me to talk to you this long. So make sure that you give us really clear and concise recommendations if you want to make any changes in that. So we welcome the feedback. I'll be here all weekend. If you see me running around crazy and I'm short with you, has nothing to do with you. I'm focused on fixing a problem at that time, and I'm going to fix that problem. So if I'm not busy, I'd love the chance to talk to you, and I appreciate you guys coming out. So thank you.
Thanks, Greg.